Hey everybody, I'm Benjamin, aka The Terrible Australian of Supermastery.com. Welcome to my video review of Life, which is a film about sort of the friendship between life photographer Dennis Stock and actor James Dean. So let's get right into it. Now, there's sort of been a lot of, films about James Dean in the past, particularly probably the most famous of which was the 2001 TV film James Dean, which had James Franco in the role of James Dean. So, and of course, like a lot of people, I think James Dean is a great actor, and of course, and it's such a shame that even though, despite the fact that he only starred in 3 films, he's an actor who has left such a major legacy in the world of acting, and particularly in method acting. And a lot of actors today even are still admire of his work and his craft and all that, but also sort of the mystique that he had as well, and that sort of he was that kind of, young rebel that everyone could relate to, like all young people could relate to in a lot of ways, even though it's been like 50 years or about 50 years or so since he's passed on. He's still a major influence today, and so that's what, that's why I was very interested to check out the new film Life, which instead of tackling like sort of James Dean's whole life, with what usual most biopics do, this one instead does. Instead of his whole life, he only captures probably a certain moment of his life. This is sort of a period in between after when he just finished making Giant and is just about to go shooting. Just about to shoot Rebel Without a Cause, and it's sort of like him meeting Dennis Stock, who's this well-known photographer for Life magazine, who wants to do a story on James Dean because he sort of senses that James Dean's going to be something about him, and the fact that he's this new actor who's just come onto the scene, has been picked a star in these 2 big films like East of Eden and Giant, and he wants to do an expose on him because he feels that he's going to be the next big thing. And what I really liked about the film is that it kind of sort of goes into the friendship between Dennis Stock and James Dean, and even though it was only for a short period of time, we see sort of the friendship that develops between these 2 characters, and in a way, Dennis Stock, from his interactions with James Dean, it kind of sees the man behind, the persona that James Dean is well known for, and as well as wanting to capture that sort of essence in the photographs that he took. And the photographs which Dennis Stock took of James Dean are pretty famous and iconic, so you'll probably know which ones they are. I mean, you only have to type it up on Google to find out which they are, but if you used to see them, you'll be like, oh yeah, I've seen those before. So in that regard, I think that's where the film is at its most successful, is sort of delving into the relationship between these 2 characters. But that being said, though, even though I did think it's a solid film, I kind of wish there was a bit more to it. And there's a lot of really interesting stuff that sort of happens around the relationship between these 2 characters, because you've got with Dennis Stock, you get sort of his sort of family life, like he's recently divorced from his wife, and he's sort of not sure, and as well as he's trying to connect with his son, and he's not sure if he has what it takes to be a dad. And then James Dean, of course, is kind of handling all the pressure of being an actor, and also I believe, and also his relationship with Pierre Angeles. I probably pronounced her name wrong, so forgive me. There's sort of his romantic relationship with her, and as well as dealing with Warner Brothers, particularly Jack Warner in the film is played by Ben Kingsley. So these characters have a lot sort of going on around them, and I kind of wish the film kind of explored those aspects a little bit more. But to me, at the end of the day, it's really about the sort of friendship between these 2 people, and just before sort of James Dean sort of became huge. So in that regard, that's where the film is at its strongest. And of course, you need really 2 good actors to do that. And both Robert Pattinson, who plays Dennis Stock, and particularly Dane DeHaan, are both really good in these roles. Particularly Dane DeHaan, who really is quite great in the role of James Dean. Like, they have a really good chemistry with each other, and you sort of buy their sort of friendship with each other as well. And also, the film is directed by Anton Corbijn, who of course directed films like Control, The American, and A Most Wanted Man. He does a really good job directing wise, although at times it does have this sort of like it kind of feels like a film that probably would have played better on TV, like on HBO or something, rather than in the cinema. Like, the film looks good, it's very well shot, particularly in sort of the scenes where James Dean and Dennis Stock go back to James Dean's hometown for a little while. Like, there's a lot of beautiful shots and all that there. Pretty solid music, and the supporting cast, again, Ben Kingsley and also Joel Edgerton in the film as well. The supporting cast is pretty solid, and the script is solid, but it's a fine film, like, it's a decent fine film, but like I said, I kind of wish there was a bit more to it, and in some ways it's kind of your standard kind of biopic, even though it only centers on one section of the protagonist's life. And yeah, that's pretty much it, really. I mean, it's a decent film, and I was actually kind of surprised when I found out that this was actually an Australian co-production, because Screen Australia, which is kind of the big funding body here in Australia, actually co-produced this film as well. But this is kind of like a co-production with the UK and the Canada and the US and Germany, so it's kind of like... But it was pretty cool to see that as well. So in a kind of a small way, Life is an Australian film in some regards. So overall, Life is a decent film. It's not anything particularly amazing, but I'd say it's not really one you need to go out in the cinemas to see. But I'd say it's one that you can definitely check out on home, whether on DVD or on video on demand or something like that. It's a decent film, but it does have two really good performances at the center of it, with Robert Pattinson, especially Dane, who I thought was really good as James Dean. So, yep, that's... Oh, if I had to give this film a rating, I'd give it about 3 stars. So, yep, that's the end of my video review of Life. I hope you guys all enjoyed it, and I'll see you all later. See you, everyone. Bye.